Gabon will become the first African country paid with international funds to preserve its forests in an effort to fight climate change, the United Nations said on Sunday. The theme of this year's general debate is galvanizing multilateral efforts for poverty eradication, quality education, climate action, and inclusion. The opening ceremony and first match of the 2019 Rugby World Cup took place on Friday, September 20th, as nations from across the globe kicked off the competition for the Webb Ellis Cup. That's all for our top stories today. Stay tuned for more details in this newscast.
The deal is part of the Central African Forest Initiative, which was launched by the United Nations in 2015 to link European donors with countries in Africa. Partnership sets a carbon floor price at $10 per certified ton and will be paid on the basis of verified results from 2016 through to 2025. Gabon, which is on the Atlantic Ocean, has just 2 million people and abundant natural resources. Forests cover almost 90% of the country. Since the early 2000s, it has created more than a dozen national parks to preserve the forests. Gabon also has around 12% of the Congo Basin forest, which is considered the world's second largest tropical rainforest. The country hosts 60% of Africa's survival forest elephant, which KFI described as a key indicator of a sound natural resource governance. Across West and Equatorial Africa, illegal logging is ravaging the forest. Much of it is driven by demand from China. Gabon, for instance, is home of the kevazingo, a reddish wood that some local communities consider sacred. But kevazingo timber is also used to make high-end furniture in Asia. Despite a 2018 government ban, kevazingo has become the target of smugglers. In May, President Ali Bongo appointed Lee White, a British-born conservationist, as a Minister of Forests. Mr. White has said that the deal with Norway will allow the government to improve the living standards of the Gabonese people by creating jobs and livelihoods, whilst also sustaining natural capital and to preserve our natural treasures. The Gabon-Norway partnership was announced just days after protesters took the street of several African cities and around the world to demand political action to combat climate change. It also comes as government, businesses, and civil society representatives gathering in New York on September 23rd for a special United Nations Climate Summit. While the Gabon-Norway deal is historic, it isn't the first time an African country has promised to protect its natural resources for financial benefit. In 2018, deal with the US headquarters charity The Nature Conservancy, Seychelles agreed to swap part of its debt for a plan that designated nearly a third of its waters as protected areas.
The city of Cape Town of South Africa is hoping to start buying power directly from independent power producers in a bid to wean off reliance on the national power unity, Eskom, as Eskom is to be unbundled into 3 entities to increase its efficiency. For this purpose, the city is mulling over taking a great leap into the green energy space and looking at countries such as China for partnership. It was not too long ago that the city once again felt the burden of rolling blackouts as energy capacity problems once again came into force. Now with Eskom's planned unbundling and the emergence is cheaper renewable energy options, Cape Town wants to go green in a better way.
We have a special economic zone which is specifically demarcated for green technology. And in Cape Town, I've identified 4 economic sectors that will deliver massive return on investment, and that makes business sense. And technology, specifically in the green space, being one of the 4. And so it is important for us to work with other countries that have shown huge progress.
Among them is China, a global leader in renewable energy production, manufacturing, and expertise, an early investor and partner in the region's green energy space. While the Northern Cape remains the country's solar energy hub, the favorable weather conditions have made the Western Cape the wind energy hub, and the city has already laid down some of the groundwork it hopes to capitalize on.
The wind turbine production and a number of other companies have already indicated their preference to come to Cape Town and to invest in our economy. And so the working relationship between Cape Town and some of these Chinese cities through the twinning agreement and China as a country is essential. We have to work with countries if we want to be successful.
Wind turbine manufacturing plants will create local jobs as well, especially on the Atlantis Special Economic Zone. The city believes that not only it could attract investment into the renewable energy space from countries such as China, but skills and knowledge transfer could also benefit the skill development of many Cape Townians. Some experts believe this is also a great opportunity to marshal the industry towards a more privatized market, which has already worked in other countries.
2007, the electricity access in Kenya was 32%. Today, it's double that. And that's thanks in great part to a privatization effort that occurred in 2 phases in Kenya that now is today the model for how to run a power industry. But you can't have that unless you initiate a process to unbundle the power industry.
For now, though, more and more wind farms are being established and more skills are being transferred locally, and it remains just a matter of time before this green energy becomes much more of the norm in homes across the city. The Exposure's International Photography Festival has presented works of 357 world's top and emerging photographers in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, with the planet's future as the biggest theme this year. As the world leaders will gather for what is seen as possibly the most consequential week for climate change action in New York next week, some of the world's most renowned names in photography are offering their imagery and voices on the photography show, documenting melting glaciers, disappearing species and habitats, human-animal conflict, and human displacement. They hope their work will make the public feel the pull to protect them. Florian Ledoux is a wildlife photographer who has sailed over 6,000 miles from the coast of Greenland to document Arctic wildlife. His aerial images document the rapid decline in ice, revealing polar animals and their habitats in ways not seen before. One of his most iconic images shows a polar bear crossing 2 chunks of ice.
The ice and the Arctic are really fragile in a way that it can be gone in just one moment like that. You know, it's melting so quickly. We need to change right now. There's no time to wait. There's no time to say that we have time or we can do it later. No, it has to be now.
In a heat wave reaching Greenland this summer, nearly 60% of the ice sheet had at least 1 millimeter melted on the surface in just one day on July 31st, according to National Snow and Ice Data Center in Colorado and the Polar Portal. The amount of ice lost on 2 record consecutive days during the heat wave would be sufficient to cover Florida with almost 5 inches of water, or Denmark with half a meter. Franz Lasting, hailed as one of the great nature photographers of our time and an environmental economist, has documented ecological hotspots from India to New Zealand for over 40 years. Taking us visually to the Antarctic, he speaks of connections between melting ice and life on Earth.
Ultimately, climate change is not just about the lives of emperor penguins and polar bears, it is about us. It's going to affect everyone on the planet, no matter where you live.
In this signature series, Day to Night, one of America's most iconic photographers, Stephen Wilkes, digitally blends thousands of images shot over a 36-hour period into one photograph, capturing the life in that habitat. There is one shot of a curious grizzly bear taken in Bella Coola in British Columbia of Canada.
People think of grizzly bears as not being endangered, but the truth is their habitats are endangered. We're reaching a critical path in our history as humanity goes. And so my work now is dedicated to showing people what's really happening. You know, through beauty, I want to inspire change.
The festival sponsors a Timothy Allen Photography Scholarship Award, a worldwide search for emerging photographers. One of the winners, Greek photographer Anna Pantelia has turned her attention to the thorny subject of energy transition in her home country. Pantelia documents both the human cost of coal's pollution and her region's dependency on coal for jobs and livelihood.
I want to speak with people that they have been falling sick out of the coal mining and people that they have lost family members. I want people to get disturbed. I want the decision makers to be disturbed and think of how we should move forward with the coal mining.
Every year in September, all the members meet in this unique forum at headquarters in New York for the General Assembly session. All 193 member states of the organization are represented to discuss and work together on a wide array of international issues covered by the Charter of the United Nations, such as climate change, development, peace, and security. This year, there is a Climate Action Summit on the eve of the general debate attended by the teen activist Greta Thunberg. Putting the climate emergency center stage and forcing states to do something are two very distinct things. The event gives the President of the General Assembly, elected each year by the member states ahead of general debate, a chance to shine. Nigeria's Tijani Mohammed Bande will be the one in charge of the 74th session.
As the risk of a no-deal Brexit grows higher with the deadline drawing closer, Britain's main opposition Labour Party promises in a draft statement that it could get Brexit sorted in 6 months if it comes to power. The statement, released on Sunday to media, says a Labour government could strike a sensible leave deal with the European Union within 3 months, and then hold a second referendum within 6 months in which voters could choose between the deal or staying in the EU. It promises that after 3 years of a shambolic Tory negotiation and parliament deadlock, a Labour government will get Brexit sorted one way or another within 6 months of coming to power. The draft statement still waits for approval at the party's annual conference, which opened on Saturday. Following a referendum in which 52% of voters supported withdrawal in June 2016, the British government invoked Article 50, starting a 2-year Brexit process which was due to conclude with London withdrawing on March 29, 2019. As the British Parliament refused to ratify the negotiated document with the EU, that deadline had been extended twice, and the current deadline is October 31st, 2019. Ireland bullied Scotland again to the tune of 27-3 in the Rugby World Cup on Sunday, and look set to avoid defending champions New Zealand in the quarterfinals. Ranked number 1 until Monday, Ireland played like a serious World Cup title contender by dominating every category against their regular doormat, Scotland. In the last 26 nation head-to-head, Highlands have beaten Scotland 16 times. The Irish pack ran the show in the first half with tries in the first 24 minutes. Tadhg Furlong scored Ireland's third try in the Rugby World Cup Pool A opener against Scotland. Rain arrived as forecast just before the interval, and Ireland added the bonus point, forced try to win Andrew Conway inside an hour. On this performance, Ireland should win Pool A. The Irish have games 2 against the hosts Japan, Russia and Samoa. Scotland came to the contest with their most battle-hardened side for a World Cup match and lots of talk. It didn't matter. As usual, the Scots were their own worst enemy, committing 12 handling errors and 8 turnovers on attacks. Ireland were quick to counter. The rain handicapped Scotland's chances to come back, and Ireland were not in a charitable mood. Ireland could afford to rest their senior players while Scotland toyed without reward, followed by a slippery ball and stared Irish defence. The Irish missed only 2 tackles in the first half and 8 in the match.
Gabon will become the first African country paid with international funds to preserve its forests in an effort to fight climate change, the United Nations said on Sunday. The theme of this year's general debate is galvanizing multilateral efforts for poverty eradication, quality education, climate action, and inclusion. The opening ceremony and first match of the 2019 Rugby World Cup took place on Friday, September 20th, as nations from across the globe kicked off the competition for the Webb Ellis Cup. That's the end of our newscast of the day, but keep watching Gabon 24 for further news.